In Pursuit of Truth, this is your host, Sir Patrick Mack. Ladies and gentlemen, you may have our good boy, but we have the very best boy. That's a good boy. That's a good boy. You want to do some Q? We got a couple of them. We last left you at 36:19, and now we're at 36:20. I think you're going to find this fairly compelling, although I don't have anything conclusive. I think we're starting to dial in on a topic that we've been covering here on this channel for a very long time. Now, this one comes in at 48 minutes after the hour 12, post 36:20, and Q is adding on to 36:19, where they were talking about doing a salt rotation on the Patriots fight board. That's over on 8kun. And salt rotation, from what I would understand, would probably wipe out Q's trip code. It looks like Q wants to keep that trip code, and they're kind of going back and forth talking about the possibilities. Now, how that all shakes out, I don't really know. But then we get this here. This is a BBC link to an older article from about a year ago. Now, it might be a dead link on some browsers, so we're going to go over to Tor in a second. Q says, publicly known, think non-public access granted. Now, the link takes you to this BBC News article from May of 2018. Very curious. PGP, serious flaw found in secure email tech. A widely used method of encrypting emails has been found to suffer from a serious vulnerability, researchers say. PGP, remember that, pretty good privacy, is a data encryption method sometimes added to programs that send and receive email. Details about the vulnerability were released by the Süddeutsche Zeitung newspaper prior to a scheduled embargo. Previously, the Electronic Frontier Foundation, the EFF, had advised immediately disabling email tools that automatically decrypted PGP. The problem had been investigated by Sebastian Schnitzel, no, I'm just kidding, it's Schinzel, at Münster University of Applied Sciences. After the embargo on releasing details about the vulnerability was lifted, Mr. Schinzel and colleagues published their research revealing how the attack on PGP emails worked. A website explaining the issue has also now been made public. Mr. Schinzel has been contacted by the BBC for comment. There was initially concern among cybersecurity researchers that the issue affected the core protocol of PGP, meaning that all uses of the encryption method, including file encryption, could be made vulnerable. However, one provider of software that can encrypt data using PGP explained the problem specifically concerned email programs that failed to check for decryption errors properly before following links in emails that included HTML code. The issue had been overblown by the EFF, said Werner Kolk of, I don't know what that is, New PG. His colleague Robert Hansen said on Twitter that the issue had been known about for some time. All right, let me take you down here. He argued it wasn't really a vulnerability in the open PGP system, but rather in email programs that had been designed without appropriate safeguards. All right, so this is really, really interesting, and I find it very interesting that this is called pretty good privacy, yeah? Now let me just finish you off down here. Alan Woodward at the University of Surrey agreed, adding it does have some big implications, as it could lead to a channel for sneaking data off devices as well as for decrypting messages. Remember that. Could lead to a channel for sneaking data off devices as well as for decrypting messages. The researchers have said that users of PGP email can disable HTML in their mail programs to stay safe from attacks based on the vulnerability. It's also possible to decrypt emails with PGP decryption tools separate from email programs.
Got a flashback aside, yeah, take it back, yeah.
Okay, so I just read you an article in regards to pretty good privacy. Well, that doesn't sound very good, right? You want very good privacy. And when we think about very good privacy, we think about something that I've been talking about for well over a year now, which is very good boys in regards to dog tweets, animal tweets of all sorts. But there's a common theme that we keep seeing, which is this term, very good boy. Now, if you've been following my channel for a while, you probably know where I'm going with this. But if you are relatively new to my channel, I'm going to back up just a little bit. I will leave this down below for you. This is a link to one of my threads that I did back here in June of 2019. And as you can see, I've referenced a whole bunch of videos here. I've put an extreme amount of work into this topic. And this is why I don't really entertain the naysayers that are so casual about it, because I've put in quite a bit. As you can see, a lot of different videos. But the great part about this thread is that you can get all these video links in there, and you can kind of see all this work that I've done in regards to all these different dog tweets. This had to do with the death of John McCain. This has to do with QAnon. This has to do with James Comey, Elizabeth Warren, Alyssa Milano, Eric Smallville, all these different kinds of people. And I've explained it exhaustively in this thread, and it will be down below for you. But the reason I want to bring it up right now is because I think it's rather relevant. We were just talking about pretty good privacy, and I'm relating it to very good boy. Well, very good privacy would sound a lot better than pretty good privacy, correct? Well, indeed it would. Let me take you over here to medium.com from February of 2019, entitled Very Good Privacy. Very Good Privacy, a standalone end-to-end encryption library, is modeled after the Pretty Good Privacy. It's like we were just talking about that. Crypto system by using public key cryptography, symmetrical encryption, Diffie-Hellman key exchange, and hashing for public key fingerprinting. Duality has made the following huge improvements to PGP, developed by Phil Zimmerman all the way back in 1991. Then we get into some tech talk here. Asymmetric key uses curve 25519-256-bit elliptical curve key instead of RSA 2048 to 4096-bit linear key.
It's produced by the modial interaction of magnetoreluctance and capacitive directivity.
0.256-bit ECC keys are much smaller than 2048-bit RSA keys.
The original machine had a base plate of prefamulated amulite, surmounted by a malleable logarithmic casing,
but offer the same level or better security as the 256-bit key operations, are faster as well. This allows us to save space on the blockchain and DHT. Okay, so we are talking about data encryption, and I want to take you back to October 24th of 2019, which wasn't that long ago, from Venture Beaten. This is called Very Good Security. Raises $35 million to protect companies' private customer data. Very Good Security, a data privacy platform that helps financial and healthcare service providers and others protect their customers' data, has raised $35 million in a Series B round of funding led by Goldman Sachs Merchant Banking Division, with participation from Andreessen Horowitz and Vertex Ventures, among other existing investors. Okay, so very interesting that Goldman Sachs, which already has a ton of your data, now has this little platform that's going to help protect your data. Founded out of San Francisco in 2016, VGS is built on the notion that most companies don't actually want to store people's private data. That's a lie! They don't want to keep social security numbers, SSNs, or bank card details on file. But they have to if they want to check up on customers' credit history or collect money for a monthly subscription. Okay, so it's a necessary evil. I guess we'll keep your data. This is where VGS comes into play, providing a developer-friendly platform so businesses can offload sensitive data. VGS bills itself as a third-party custodian that specializes in protecting data and ensuring regulatory compliance. Now, I thought this was interesting here. Using VGS, companies can leverage the value of data without having access to the data itself. For example, they can take money from a customer's bank account without ever knowing their bank account details. VGS effectively wraps around company systems, keeping them from ever coming into direct contact with private data. The platform redacts and tokenizes sensitive information. Let me say that again. The platform redacts and tokenizes sensitive information, giving the business a hashed aliased version that consists of random characters. Okay, so I'm not exactly sure where we are, but it seems like we're starting to dial this in. It looks like these very good boy tweets could be dealing with information, and we've talked about this for quite some time. Numerous tweets, and we're not going to go through them all because there's just so many, and some of them don't mean anything, some of them do. But like I said, if you've been following my channel for a while, please follow the thread. If you're not familiar with this story, go back over these videos. You'll see the numerous tweets regarding very good boy, and they're all very, very curious. Now, obviously, people are dog lovers. I'm a dog lover. We like to tweet about our dogs. We're not necessarily saying that because a dog is being called a very good boy that it has something to do with this, but we do know that some information is going back and forth, and we have kind of posited this theory in regards to these dogs referring to some sort of information exchange, whether it's actual chips inside actual dogs, we don't really know. But this seems to be some sort of call out by saying, hey, you can come over to my platform and you're probably going to get some very good security. Now, I had also talked about the virtual Game Boy as a possibility, or this VGB driver. We're not really sure, but we seem to be onto something here. It seems to be some sort of encrypted messages going back and forth. Now it gets really curious because we're talking about bank account details. This very good privacy system, this platform works amongst WhatsApp. So this is definitely in the exchange of information realm. How it exactly works, I'm not really sure, or if we're really onto something here, but it seems like Q is giving this a little nod. That, of course, got me thinking about this tweet from Elizabeth Warren on the 2nd of November, where she actually had a blow up of her own dog, Bailey, with 2 pennies stuck to its neck. I have no idea why. It's very strange. And of course, everyone was chanting, "Big structural Bailey." What an odd thing to chant. Big structural Bailey. There it is right there. And as you can see, they're chanting this. What a weird thing for everybody to chant, right? So this was all based off of her kind of her slogan, big structural change and whatnot. But oddly enough, this whole Bailey thing with her dog was sort of to combat the whole meme culture, and she was going to participate in it and dominate it and this and that. And there's her big structural Bailey. All right. So we do know that there is some sort of communication going back and forth, and we do know that dogs and very good boys are somehow involved. Now, whether I've dialed it in exactly, I'm not really sure, but it seems like the deep state and the white hats are kind of going back and forth, letting people know either what platforms are okay to use. Maybe this is a very good boy, so this means that this platform is a, some sort of secure platform that you can whether send communications or maybe even send money. This big structural Bailey had me wondering if they were talking about BSB, which is kind of like a SWIFT code for Australian banks. Could this be some sort of communication there? I don't really know, but if you've seen this over the last year or so, we can definitely know that we're onto some sort of code. Now, in relation to QAnon, as you may know, CodeMonkey has been working on this project Odin, which is like a companion software, like I'm saying right here, to 8kun. And even CodeMonkey had tweeted a dog being free from their leash not too long ago. But I wanted to point your attention to this tweet from the 3rd in regards to Odin. This was actually in regards to a San Francisco, CBS local San Francisco article in regards to a dog named Odin, who was a goat herding dog. During the firestorm in 2017, Odin not only protected his flock, he also seemingly adopted several baby deer who were huddled around him for safety. Now, this is where things took a weird twist, and around late October, early November, we started to see all these dog tweets turn into deer tweets, and now we're seeing a whole bunch of both. Now, I don't want to go through all of them because there's too many to really go through. If you're following me on Twitter, you've clearly seen the sheer magnitude of all these different tweets, but let me just kind of highlight a few here. It seemed to, I don't know if it started with this, but this was one of the early ones from the CIA themselves, who posted this: a rare spotting this evening of hashtag CIA deer on a mission for food under the cover of night. Like all good CIA officers, they completed their task and disappeared without a trace. And then we have hashtag it's in our nature. Very odd indeed. Now, it looks like obviously some deer wandered onto the campus there and they got some pictures of it. I understand that there's nothing nefarious to that, and it is deer season, so we're starting to see a lot there. But I thought this was very, very curious considering the CIA's history for tweeting out cryptic tweets and their participation in this very good boy stuff. But I also want you to note that the CIAD is all capitalized there in the hashtag CIAD. And of course, that got me thinking about the internal audit directors over there at the DOE. And of course, DOE is a doe, a deer, a female deer. And then we got this tweet here from November 13th from the POTUS himself. This is a phony show trial. There is zero due process. None. It is yet another fraudulent hoax conspiracy theory. It is another witch hunt. This is what the socialist Democrat Party has become. There's not one thing the Democrats have done in the past 3 years except try blah, 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 blah. So we started to see all this mention of doe and deers and articles and whatnot. And like I said, if you're following me on Twitter, you'll see how prolific this really, really was. And we're starting to see this back talk. Now, I have not quite figured out what that truly means, but I do have a feeling that we might be talking about the Department of Energy. Not really sure. So I've gone off on a bit of a tangent, but I really wanted to add a little color to this story and show you, especially you newer viewers, how pervasive this really is. If you want to get caught up more, please, please, please check out my thread, which will be linked down below. I will update that thread because I've got some more videos, but that's a lot of videos for you to go through if you've not seen them. Many of you have already checked that out and are probably right along with me on this one, but it's very, very curious. Now back to the Q. Q says publicly known, think non-public. Well, I would imagine if pretty good privacy is available to the public, then the very good privacy must be available privately, right? And that must be some sort of way that they're passing on information back and forth. Well, it looks like Q is onto that too, saying access granted Q. Let's move on for now. Post 3621, Q says coordinated and planned, spy inserts, puppets have masters, Senate was the target. And the Twitter link takes you to Senator Marsha Blackburn, who tweeted, vindictive Vindman is the whistleblower's handler. And of course, somewhere Vindman saying, it's Lieutenant Colonel Vindman. Nobody cares. Nobody cares, dude. Anyway, looks like he was indeed the handler, and we've suspected that for some days of this whistleblower that goes by the name that I can't say, but it rhymes with Gary Sarsaparilla. Anyway, Q says coordinated and planned, spy inserts, puppets have masters, Senate was the target. Yeah, and I tweeted about this yesterday, and I think we are all starting to see this go on. It looks like impeachment was the plan all along. Keep in mind, if they go through with this and this event eventually goes into the Senate, then of course Trump can go ahead and call whomever he'd like. And of course, I'm sure he's going to want to call our whistleblower, right? And I wouldn't imagine that Hunter Biden is going to be safe from that. Where is Hunter Biden these days? But either way, the truth will have to come out at some point, right? Because the Senate was the whole point. That was the whole point of getting the Senate. That was the whole point of getting that target. Now, of course, I've talked about the need for, appointing judges, and there was a multitude of reasons, but really this was one in particular, because it was not only going to save President Trump from being impeached, but it was likely the reason we were going to be able to inject that legal evidence that Q has talked about for so long by essentially calling witnesses and having the fake news have to cover it. C-SPAN's gonna have to cover that, and we're gonna see it all fall apart on live TV. Now, is that the way it's gonna go down? I'm not sure. President Trump's almost warning them not to do it. And it does seem like Nancy Pants Pelosi is a little bit sketchy about this whole thing, probably because she's smart enough to at least know that. But a lot of these other younger progressives, if you will, seem to be going full steam towards impeachment, and they are walking themselves right into that trap, because that is how you legally inject evidence. And of course, like I said, fake news will be required to cover it, and it would all have to go down on national TV, which would seem to be the single-handed destroyer of the Democratic Party. All right, Patriots, those are your Q posts. Let me share with you a couple of interesting headlines. This is from Tulsa, Oklahoma, off of newsbreakinglive.com. The owner of a home in Tulsa, Oklahoma, that went up in flames early Friday morning says that the dog saved his dog has died. Says that the dog that saved his dog has died. The blaze reportedly broke out at 1 a.m. Friday morning after a small fire started outside the home, spreading to a boat and car in the driveway and then to the garage and attic. 5 adults and 4 children were sleeping at the time. 5 adults and 4 children. 4 kids, 5 adults, that's 45. But were awakened by the dog. who was acting strangely in an attempt to warn them of the fire in the attic, the homeowner says. All 9 residents were able to escape the home safely, but the dog, Chaos, was unable to escape. The cause of the fire is under investigation. All right, well, this is curious indeed, and I'd like to find out more. I'm not necessarily saying that this is any kind of communication. Just interesting that a fire broke out in the attic while they were all sleeping, and it happened to be 5 adults and 4 children. But I also thought that dog, Chaos, was a little bit concerning. And we got this from ABC Fake News. A black lab is hanging up his leash after nearly a decade on the job with the National Park Service. K-9 officer Boomer, who was first recruited by the Chickasaw National Recreation Area in Oklahoma for narcotics detection in 2011, will retire later this month. He has been instrumental in helping detect illegal drugs in his home park, the local community, and on special assignment to other National Park Service units. The National Park Service said in a press release about the pup's loyal service. All right, well, maybe nothing. Looks like Boomer was a very good boy after all. But I thought it was very interesting that the dog's name is Boomer, because that's a term that gets thrown around a lot, right? Referring to the Boomer generation. But I also find it very interesting because that is a term that a lot of people use to people who are following QAnon. Just saying. Anyway, it looks like he's retired. Retirement plans include spending more time with his family, receiving as many belly rubs as he can guilt them into, and chasing squirrel. Now you can see right there it says read more at, and really all it says at the bottom there that you miss is that he continues to be a very good boy. Finally, I will leave you with this right here from the NSA/CSS. A pack of therapy dogs looking to provide a little stress relief visited Capitol Hill last week. Yeah, there were a multitude of dog tweets in regards to this story too. Evidently, some of the Democrats were a little stressed about this impeachment hearing, so they got some therapy dogs. Well, this is one of them, Remy, which is a very familiar name. We've seen a lot of dogs named Remy. One of the visiting dogs belongs to none other than a member of our workforce. We might be slightly biased, but we think he might be the best boy. Now, if you go on Twitter and type in Remy and very good boy, you are going to see a ton of different options come up. And I think many of you have recognized this name before. And I just want to toss this out here that Remy is a computer program that figures out how computers can best cooperate to share a network. We've been talking about networks. Remy creates end-to-end congestion controlled algorithms that plug into the Transmission Control Protocol, TCP. These computer generated algorithms can achieve higher performance and greater fairness than the most sophisticated human design schemes. Wow, that would make it a very good program. All right, Patriots, that's all the craziness that I got for you for today. You can let me know, am I digging up a bone with all this very good boy stuff, or am I just chasing my own tail? You can decide, but that's all I got for you for now. If you want to get caught up on more of this stuff, because like I said, it's very, very thorough, please check out the thread down below. It's a thread reader app thread. I'll just entitle it IPOT Dog Thread, and you can get up to speed on that. There's multiple videos within that thread, and so you can check that all out. But incidentally, in regards to that CIA Deer tweet, I was looking up CIAD acronyms and came across the Canadian Intervention and Assistance Dogs Foundation. Interesting. We just sent some of those to the White House. We were just talking about that. Anyway, that's all I got for you for now. All my links are down below. I highly suggest joining at least one of them because I may not last over here on YouTube. My Gab, my BitChute, my DropSpace, my Brighteon.com. They're all linked down below. You might want to check that out. Hint, hint, wink, wink. And of course, that thread will be down below. You can catch up on all the dog tweets. It'll be entitled IPOT Dog Thread, and it'll be linked down below for you. If you have any information for me, my email is down below. Please do not DM me on social media. I don't DM on social media. You can email me. Thank you so much. And I've got an old school P.O. box there if you are an old school type. And if you'd like to support the channel, my Patreon is linked down below. It's all down below. You can check it on out. This is Sir Patrick Mack, and until next time, stay good boy.